Welcome everybody to look at a brand new 4K release from Imprint Films in Australia, and it is 1977's A Bridge Too Far. So this is directed by Richard Attenborough, who I've seen far more from him as an actor, but the only directorial effort I've seen from him outside of this one has been Magic, which came out the year after this. And this is an epic historical war film, clocking in at 176 minutes long. Had a budget of the $25 million at the time, which is obviously quite a substantial amount for 1977. Just look at how much Star Wars will cost to make in comparison, for instance. And yeah, it had a box office return of 50.7 million. So a reasonable success. It was apparently the sixth most successful film of the year at the time. And yeah, has an epic cast. And because it has such a large cast, I'm only going to be able to go through a minimal of the cast members' prior roles. Yeah, it stars Dirk Bogarde, James Caan, Michael Caine, Sean Connery, Edward Fox, Elliot Gould, Anthony Hopkins, Gene Hackman, Hardy Kruger, Laurence Olivier, Ryan O'Neill, Robert Redford, Maximilian Schnell, who would also be in Cross of Iron the same year as this. Kind of prefer that a little bit more to this one as far as World War II films go, but yeah, he was in that as well as Liv Ullmann. Also stars Michael Byrne, who, now I'm talking about the people that aren't on the front of the box here. Michael Byrne, who is most well known as Vogel in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. He's the German general, tank commander, whatever, who goes off the cliff in the tank fight. Um, Weirdly enough, that film reunites him with Sean Connery and Denholm Elliott out of this film. And it also stars Alan Armstrong, who was also in The Mummy Returns and Braveheart. So this is the story of Operation Market Garden, a failed attempt by the Allies in the latter stages of World War II to end the war quickly by securing 3 bridges in Holland, which would allow them to access over the Rhine into Germany. A combination of poor Allied intelligence and the presence of 2 crack German panzer divisions meant that the final part of this operation, the bridge in Arnhem over the Rhine, was doomed to failure, and that's where it gets its title, A Bridge Too Far. The third and final bridge really was a bridge too far. So this is a war epic in every sense of the meaning, thanks to an incredible cast, production on a scale rarely seen, while also being faultless in its action set pieces that span vast areas, while also being quite brutal in their portrayal of war. This really doesn't, scan over the whole, violence of war and stuff like that. Like Cross of Iron from the same year as this, it really does portray violence as violence would be. Obviously, not quite to the realism of, say, Saving Private Ryan from 22 years later or 21 years later. But for a 70s film, yeah, it does depict it in a really rather quite a brutal way. It is also mostly engrossing despite its lengthy running time, but personally, because the pacing is so solid, I don't think this feels its running time whatsoever. I really like the score, and the real life events are depicted in a detailed manner. Now, for some reason or another, this was completely snubbed by the American um, critics at the time, to the point where it wasn't even nominated for any Oscars or anything like that. And notable American critics like Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert weren't a fan of it at all. A lot of people have said that's probably because it depicts the American part of this story in not a shining light, although it was a collaborative failure on the whole in terms of what happened at in Operation Market Garden. But it was nominated for 8 BAFTAs over here in the UK. BAFTAs are the British Academy Film Awards, and yeah, it was nominated for 8, like I said, but it won 4 of those 8. It won Best Sound, Best Film Music, Best Cinematography, and Best Actor in a Supporting Role for Edward Fox, who, even though I don't think he's the actual best supporting character in this, he is one of those that does make an impact in the short amount of time that he's in this. Although I would say maybe James Caan has even more of a notable role in this. But still, all a very fantastic cast and an overall excellent film. 4 out of 5 from me. Very tempted to give it 4.5 out of 5, but I feel like it's very rudimentary in its plotting. It's kind of like vignettes between these characters in different areas of Holland and Belgium and other parts of Europe. Whereas Cross of Iron has a lot more thematic weight to it, whereas this doesn't really have that element to it. It condemns the fact that the Operation Market Garden was a catastrophic failure in a large portion, and the kind of egocentric mindedness of I think it was General Montgomery. In that he still thought it was a 90% success, even though at least several thousand men died. For instance, Sean Connery's character took about 10,000 with him into this battle, came out with less than two. So yeah, to consider it a 90% success when you've only achieved two-thirds of your goal does not seem entirely right. And yeah, it does condemn it in that regard, but I don't think it goes quite far enough in the same kind of manner as Cross of Iron, where it's completely condemns the egotism of those at higher ups to get their cross of iron, no matter what it costs other people. And in that case, all of the thousands of men that are dying for that award for that guy that for the award that the person wants. So yeah, really nice hard box as we've seen before from Imprint Films. And yeah, I imagine the production scale of this was quite near in terms of how much of a scale the operation itself was back in 1944, because there's at least a dozen period correct planes involved. There's about 1,000 men that are parachuting from those planes. And there's all of the thousands of people on the ground, and all of the tanks and the jeeps, and all of the destruction of buildings when fighting and such like that, and all of the stunts that go on and explosions. And yeah, it's just mind-boggling that this was ever even achieved in this kind of scale, to be honest. And yeah, this 4K release really does it justifies it. Gives it. I'm struggling to word it there. Um, does the film justice. That's what I mean. Really does the film justice, because the 4K looks excellent, and the sound quality. It did won a BAFTA for its best sound. Really does come to the fore with the 4K format as well. So yeah, on the 4K itself, we've got a Dolby Vision 2160p ultra high definition release, which is restored from the original 35mm negative by Imprint Films, and the Blu-ray, which is also in this case, is a 1080p high definition presentation as well. We've got audio commentary by screenwriter William Goldman and the main crew, and then we've got an alternate subtitle track with historical information. It would be interesting to watch it again with that to see what elements are true and what are not, although many people that are characterized in this were involved in the production of this film. Sean Connery's character, for instance, was actually a consultant on this film. And you also get a theatrical trailer as well. We have DTS HD 5.1 surround audio, and DTS HD 4.0 surround English language audio as well as English subtitles on top of all of that. We also get a special features disc, which has a lot of special features on it, so that's why it has its own disc. Get it the right way around. Yeah, just pardon me, I need to wipe my nose. Still been suffering from a little bit of a cold. So yeah, on the disc itself, it's got Attenborough at War featurette with film historian screenwriter C. Courtney Joyner from 2024. And then we got Joseph E. Levine, Becoming the Showman featurette from 2024. More than another war movie. There's a bit of a tongue twister there. Elliot Gould builds a bridge too far. Interview with actor Elliot Gould from 2024. And then we also get We Are the Cavalry, filming a bridge too far. Interview with camera operator Peter McDonald, daughters from 2024. Behind the Lens, remembering Jeffrey Unsworth. Interview with clapper loader Tony Jackson and camera operator Peter McDonald. I'll say if these aren't from 2024, if they aren't, but take it in mind that they are if I don't. Then we get a Futile Mission, scoring a bridge too far. Interview with film music historian John Burlingham. Then we get Making a Bridge Too Far, a feature-length documentary from Simon Lewis, author of The Making of a Bridge Too Far. Then archival featurettes. We get The Arnhem Report, a rarely seen documentary on the making of the film from 1977. Then we get Theirs Is the Glory, film about the historic events in Arnhem. That's from 1946. That's I don't know how they've unearthed that. And then A Bridge Too Far, Heroes from the Sky, a documentary from 2001. A Distant Battle, Memories of Operation Market Garden, 60th Anniversary Featurette from 2004. So obviously Operation Market Garden will be celebrating its 80th anniversary this year, and that's why this has been given its release of this year. Then we've got Richard Attenborough, A Filmmaker Remembers, interview with director Richard Attenborough from 2002. Archival interview with director Richard Attenborough from 1977. Archival interview with actor Anthony Hopkins from 1977. And a photo gallery from 1977 as well. So, yeah, quite a hefty amount of special features and archival featurettes there as well. It's nice to see that they're both pretty much of equal measure there, because you have new documentary there, but then you also have an archival documentary as well, and then you've also got plenty of interviews with people who sadly are no longer with us as well, but still really, really nice to see, and that's all of them there. So, yeah, excellent in terms of all of that. And then we also get a booklet as well. So, Imprint Films have really put a lot of effort into this. That's Robert Redford. And inside, we get shots from the film. And then we also get a Blockbuster Too Far Cinema Retro article by Simon Lewis from April 2022. I mean, yeah, that's just one action scene there going on where a building is just getting absolutely annihilated. That's just one of many. And there's numerous shots from the film inside as well. That's James Caan carrying one of his fellow soldiers. And then we get one of the best scenes for me when it comes to Sean Connery in this film, where he's holding that gun there. And that's purely because he's talking with some civilians in a house, and then suddenly a Nazi walks by the window. The Nazi doesn't initially notice, but then he comes back and turns around and looks into the window, and Sean Connery just basically pulls out his gun and unloads half a clip into the guy and through the window as well, with the glass smashing it. Yeah, it's just a really, really good character moment that it shows that Sean Connery is willing just to take any action possible at a moment's notice, quite frankly. So, yeah, I think that's all one write up. Seemingly so. I can't see that I'm missing anything. There's also a really rather fantastic scene on the bridge where some of the Nazis are coming towards the Allied troops that are stationed on the other side of the bridge, and they initially do get the one up on the Germans, but it's all for naught at the end of the day. That's, for instance, one part of the scene on the bridge. Spectacular scene. Great deal of stunts involved there. So yeah, not sure if there is any more parts to that write up, or it's just the whole thing is that one bit. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to say on any of the backs of the disc. And I'm looking now through my bits that I have on me. No, even says doesn't say on the card, to be honest, that you get with it on the back of the box. That you can easily take off because it's only glued on slightly. But still, superb film. If you're into your epic war films that are quite lengthy, then this is going to be right up your street. It does feel a bit old school in that regard. You never get a 3 hour war film nowadays. So, yeah, it really is great in just in terms of its scale and its production, and that is something you can really respect. But there's also a great cast underpinning that, with a really rather engrossing story, and yeah, it's just really, really well executed. I really need to see more from Richard Attenborough in terms of his directorial efforts. I know I've still yet to see Gandhi, which is about the same length as this, but also probably even more highly regarded. So, yeah, but if you have seen this film before, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. But if you still haven't gotten around to it and you're a bit erring on the side of caution of whether or not to bother or not, I would say yes, but only if you're into your war films, your classic war films, but also more than able to deal with something that's nearly 3 hours long. But if you're not, there's no harm in splitting it up into three sections. I see no issue in doing that. So yeah, but nonetheless, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.